Every now and then Weekly Shonen Jump picks up a manga that is not quite like the others, not the typical battle action, sport or rom-com series, something that seems a bit odd. This time it's Actage, a manga that tells us about the profession of acting and its competitive career world. Contrary to some beliefs which found Actage unsuitable for Shonen Jump, the manga eats every little bit as shonen as it could get, and by that I mean it follows the normal structure you'd usually see in a Shonen Jump story. A main character has a special talent and goes through a series of harsh experiences to become the best at what they do. Power systems are also present, to some extent, while rivalry is one of the high points. The story of Actage centers around Kei Yonagi, a teenager with a great desire and talent for acting, able to make every fiction so real that you're losing the connection to reality. However, she uses a very dangerous technique known as method acting. She draws on her past experiences to manifest emotion in her performances, and that heavily affects her mental state. With her mother gone and her father yet to return from the store, Yonagi has to take care of her two younger siblings. She struggles to maintain a regular job and starts auditioning for any role she can find, but without success. However, fortune smiles upon her when she gets discovered by a renowned film director, Shumiji Kuroyama. Yonagi embodies the qualities of the actress Kuroyama was always searching for, and he takes it upon himself to polish her skills and turn her into a proper actress, while also helping her grow as a person. What hit the mark for me right away was the art. It's stunning, absolutely stunning. It may not be as detailed as Berserk or as stellar as Murata's take on One Punch Man, but there have been so many times where I would stare at certain panels for minutes before moving on to the next, just to come back a few seconds later to admire them again. And since the plot focuses on acting, every emotion an actor expresses, be it anger, sadness, joy or love, it's so immersive and beautifully portrayed, I just can't help but be spellbound. So many little details in their expressions, and this has all been done by a 23 years old artist. That's actually pretty dope. The first few chapters are kind of a slow burn. They lay the ground for the bigger story and you spend the time learning who's who and what's what. The idea is that Kuroyama wants to polish Yonagi's acting skills and help her achieve her dream, while also achieving his own dream of making the ideal movie with Yonagi's help. So I can see why some of you might not find it that appealing at the beginning and might wonder why the fuck would you wanna read that, but as soon as the first arc rolls around, and that's by chapter 7, it becomes so much more than that. And before you know it, the sun's knocking at your window. I really missed being unable to stop reading chapter after chapter. The manga, for the most part, is structured around different projects that Yonagi takes place in, be it a play, a commercial or a movie. You can view them as arcs if you want. You should actually, where she meets people related to the acting industry that pose challenges for her growth, both personal and professional. With her innocent, bright personality and her willingness to improve and learn from the others in the industry, it makes her fit with almost anyone in the manga. Almost anyone, making the interactions between her and the other characters really fun to read. You get a distinct experience each time she's with a different character, and I love that dynamic. Her rivalry with Chiyoko is one of the best I've seen in... I actually don't remember a good and complex rivalry in the last decade. Interesting, but also yikes. Yonagi and Chiyoko take the cake. They go beyond I want to surpass you basic ass concept. On the one hand, it's wholesome, as they genuinely care about each other and enjoy competing against one another. But it's also intense, as they are dead serious in proving themselves and the world who is the better actress. They consume each other and are the beloved enemies of a rivalry. But my favorite interactions happen between Yonagi and Kuroyama. That's where the comedy mainly arises from. The dynamic between the relaxed, thuggish personality of Kuroyama along with Yonagi's nervousness stole a few chuckles and many smiles from me throughout the chapters. They make a great duo, and I love that. Each time they appear on page, the atmosphere gets really comfortable and draws me in. I almost forget their fictional characters, and boy, that rarely happens to me. And speaking of things that rarely happen, Goosebumps. It has these moments where they are shooting some scene, and when it's Yonagi's time to make a move, deliver her lines or play her part, everything changes. The atmosphere gets intense, heavy details everywhere. The art drastically adjusts and captures the tone of the scene so accurately that I do get goosebumps. This woman oozes emotion. Through her method acting, she loses herself in her experiences and memories while pulling people in with her. Like, even though I know she's just supposed to act, obviously it's effective regardless. It makes you feel something, and it's a really nice experience. And so I embarked on the ride and got sent on a surprisingly emotional journey through a rather unremarkable topic like becoming an actor. Now on the technical side, it shows the whole picture of what kind of work goes into producing a show, be it a play, movie or commercial, and gives a fairly realistic view of the entertainment industry for not just actors but the people behind it too. An added benefit to the fact that the mangaka used to work in the filmmaking industry before. You learn the variety of techniques actors usually use to deliver their performances, how a film set is supposed to look, what actually goes through a director's mind while shooting a scene, and generally little bits of information in regards to acting. Pretty cool. What's even cooler is that rather than tapping into the good old exposition, the manga uses Yonagi's experiences to naturally incorporate it into her growth, and so we learn alongside Yonagi. Plus, the manga is concise and fast-paced with little to no side stories. You only get to focus on the main story with no irrelevant pieces bothering your experience. And that's something I appreciate, a good indication for me that the mangaka values my time and knows what he's doing. But should you read this even if you have no interest in anything acting related? Of course not, what kind of I apologize, that was my other ego. That guy can be very rude sometimes, lucky manners for sure. Allow me to answer that question instead. I'll say the enjoyment of the manga does correlate to your interest in reading about the acting industry, at least to some extent. Although I know there are a lot of people not interested in sports yet loving sports anime because of the idea of becoming the best at what you want to do. So the same idea could also apply in this case. You still might get a kick out of it even if you don't find the topic appealing, so why not give it a solid 10 chapters to see if it piques your interest, cause it should.